So you might be seeing a bit of a blood spray there. With any luck. There we go. I mentioned defeating the gecko in the prologue of the game is actually relatively easy with the AK-102. The trick is you really need to hit that weak point. It's that strange little hinge that they have between the head and the main body. Another thing I pointed out when fighting the gecko in Shadow Moses. Oh, hi, thanks for giving us a nice look at your beautiful face there. The little canisters on the sides of the head. I said I wasn't sure, but those might be the gas tanks from the Remove Poison Gas Gecko. I was incorrect. This is what the gas canisters looked like. They were these little cylindrical objects that had, you know, they were green in color. They had an obvious little container of something. Again, this design goes completely unused in Metal Gear Solid 4, but my understanding is it's later used in Metal Gear Survive. But yeah, just wanted to correct my unforgivable error. How could I mistake a little triangular geometric canister for a round one? My goodness. We're also going to return to the title screen here. And we're going to load up a Shadow Moses file because there was something else I wanted to show off. I've been trying to make it a point to show off various weapons. By the way, the area in the prologue is called Ground Zero. Ha 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 ha. Isn't that funny? Anyway. I know that's a term, but still. Yes, we're going to load our Shadow Moses file. This is actually an earlier Shadow Moses file because we can see there's a gecko here. And I've been trying to make a point to show off various weapons that we see in cutscenes that you can later acquire via usually just putting in codes and things like that. So we saw Big Mama or Eva use this. This is her C96 replica. A lot of people look at this type of gun and think it's, you know, they'll be like, oh, it's the Red 9. Well, no, this is specifically not a Red 9. The Red 9 was a modification of the C96 to fire 9mm rounds that were more common in that part of the world, and the handle was often marked with a Red 9. This is a 45. You can see it right there. It says 45 ACP. Another weapon we saw in a cutscene was the Thor. Liquid Ocelot used this. And again, it's another one that you put in a special little code for. It's a single-shot hand rifle made using 1911 series parts. It's basically like a Super Magnum. It's basically a Super Magnum. So, we've got a blizzard here. You might not be able to see it. But yeah, see, there's only like a single little geometric bit there. That's why I wasn't sure. Oh. No, it's got the doubled ones. Alright. So, either way, I couldn't remember what the poison gas gecko looked like. In any case, let's get our solid eye back on normal mode. And let's demonstrate. Yep. Get a load of that. Fires very quickly. I want to try to stun your legs there. But when we reload, he actually uses a clip rather than a magazine, which is accurate to the real-world weapon. I think that's neat. The only gun, I believe, in the whole game that uses, at least the only handgun that uses a clip rather than a mag. So we've got a unique reload animation. Now, it's pretty strong, but, I mean, Gecko, they're pretty hardy. So let's bring out the big boy here. Oh. There we go. Hey. Oh, and look at that. Look at how much damage that did. So if we line this up. Oh, and there you can see the weak point. And there you go. Kills Gecko dead. Yeah, so this is a very, very strong weapon. Definitely something that you'll want to have. Especially in later parts of the games. I do wish this game had more, just gameplay in general. I've talked about that quite a bit. That I really love the aesthetic of this game. I love the new enemies and such that they added. But I wish there was just more opportunity. Let's switch to this again. And let's show... I mean, you know, we saw... I guess I'll just call her Eva. That's the more common name. We saw Eva fight these things using this weapon. And yeah, as you can see, it's very good against them. Oh, right. And you can't actually reload it until it's completely out of ammo. Because it uses a clip. I think I mentioned too, this area. Yeah, these guys kind of infinitely respawn. So it's a decent place, and in fact, speaking of using different weapons, it's a decent place. It's not the best place, but let's say you've got the Patriot, you know, you put in the code to get that. You can kind of just sit here and hold L1 and R1 on auto-aim and just kind of do this for quite some time. We're only getting about, what, like 75 Drebin points for each time we destroy one. So, it's not the best place to farm, but, oh! No, sometimes the auto-aim wants to prioritize strange things. Oh yes, look, there's a full-size gecko out there. Well, let's get a little closer to him. Shoot you in the leg. Oh, these little buddies, they're being little bullies, is what they're being. Let's just kind of... No. Hey, do we have some chaff grenades? I'm sure we've got some chaff grenades. Again, chaff grenades are very, very powerful. Especially against non-living things. Oh, and there's a rare attack you don't often see. The dwarf gecko can grab you from behind. Let's also just kind of heal up a little bit here. Just a little bit. So yes, let's demonstrate this again. Oh? Oh, are you exempt from the chaff grenade because you're outside? Well, that's interesting. I know they have a bit of a smaller area of effect. I mentioned before, this is a pretty fun scenario you can get yourself in. Fighting a gecko outside. Oh, look, his little buddies came out to play, too. Let's get our bandana and throw a couple more of these chaff grenades out. Excuse me? There we go. That kind of gets him completely still. It's strange, though, because regular geckos seem a little more resistant to chaff grenades than the little guys. I don't know. I don't understand the logic behind that. There we go. Now if I shoot you right there, yes, the bullet should actually penetrate enough. Because that is a stat. That is a stat that exists in this game. And there we go. You can see, of course, full-size gecko, they're worth 500 Drebin points per kill. But let's, pick up some camo here. Now, you might be wondering, hey, is this just an excuse for Onika to just run around Shadow Moses a little bit more? Yes, Partially. Oh, look at all those little lasers on me. But there was something else I realized I didn't point out, and I wanted to point it out because I think it's very important. Oh, look, hey, here's these buddies again. So I think if I'm very, very careful with this... I wasn't very, very careful with it. I wanted to shoot the weak point. I didn't quite do that. Let's see. Okay. So I did, like, about 80% of the health of this thing with that one shot. Now, the problem is if you don't get it lined up properly, you do almost no damage. That was the issue I was having when I tried to demonstrate defeating a gecko with the AK-102 here in Shadow Moses in the prior video. I forgot how absolutely, well, oh, we're taking a ride there. It took a little trip. How absolutely dead on you need to be. You know, that grenade also reminds me that there's another weapon I didn't actually show off that we got from Raging Raven, which is this grenade launcher. You can see it's currently blue because you can fire the usual selection of grenades from it. We're going to go with the typical grenades and just sort of shoot you in the face. Now you can see it does almost no damage. Again, because they're very, very heavily armored. You really need to hit the weak points on these. Which does make them a little, you know, a little fierce. But the Solid Eye very mercifully just tells you where the weak points are. And they have attacks like that, which kind of just... Yeah, come on, Snake. Make them very vulnerable. They're a well-designed enemy. It's a shame that you don't fight them more. That said, he is kind of, He's kind of winning the war of attrition. I've never really found the best way to deal with their legs. I guess you're just meant to sort of spray and pray, because they move so often when they're not. Yeah, I guess that's it. I guess that's the trick. Now you can see I'm not doing any damage. You have to be, very particular. You have to aim a little higher than you would think. Even that didn't do anything. I have to hit... Oh, it's such a particular spot. There we go. Yeah, it really is that hinge area. That's, I guess... I mean, it makes sense. A hinged area is usually the weak point on any sort of moving device like that. You can't armor up an area that needs to have a lot of movement. So it even without the Solid Eye, I mean, I guess it does make sense. Oh, right, can't forget to get this ration. It's very logical where to hit it. Oh, look, and there's our buddy right there. But it's also very difficult to hit it there. Another thing I really like about Shadow Moses in this game is I mentioned that even though the idea of the Nomad is interesting, I don't really like the idea of Snake having a base of operations. I think I mentioned with Metal Gear Solid 1, Twin Snakes, and 3 that the isolated nature of those games really... It evokes something within you. It makes you kind of feel like, okay, I am here all alone. You know, in the environment and the fact that very rarely do we come across a friendly entity. All of our support is on the codec. You know, it gets that idea that we are a one-man army. We're sent in against impossible odds. It's a lonely, desolate mission in a lonely, desolate place. Particularly, Shadow Moses has a very cold and desolate nature to its aesthetic. And I think this, you can also see these walls are destroyed where that gecko came in. Um, I think this incarnation of Shadow Moses, even more so, creates that desolate feeling. It's much darker in a lot of places. It's obviously much colder. And the fact that there are no human entities at all, you know, we're only fighting unmanned sentries. It feels very lonely. It's the first time in the game where I actually feel like, you know, do we have a place to go back to? Do we really have a home? Like, does the nomad even mean anything? And I don't know. I like that. I don't, like I said, we're gonna get future games where there's the snake base, and I don't really like the idea of there being a snake base because I like feeling like I'm all alone in this mission, and you know. So there were a couple things I didn't point out here. One of which is you might notice these doors open opposite the way they did in Metal Gear Solid 1. I don't know what's up with that. But yeah, Otacon actually goes in this side rather than this side. The other thing is since we restored power, a lot of these monitors are now on. Nothing particularly interesting showing, but it is a neat little detail that I feel like a lot of people will miss. And the real reason I wanted to come down here, the real thing I wanted to show, is if you remember, there's a weird bootleg 3DO PS1 looking thing in the original with the CRT. And then Twin Snakes had a GameCube with a Wavebird and a CRT. We've got nothing here. Someone came in. Not only did they come in and clean up those bodies and rearrange all the desks, someone came in and took my goddamn PlayStation. I wanted to play Jumping Flash. Now I'm just gonna have to, I don't know, go outside and touch grass. What truly the far-flung future of 2014 is one of misery and disarray.